Justin, you're the new Ugu tourism head. People would like to know where you come from, your CV, you know.
Yeah. Essentially, I'm a geographer. I graduated from Stellenbosch University. Spent 9 years in the educational world and then in here and in the United Kingdom. And it was there that I got my first introduction to tourism, because some of the modules that we lectured in were in fact to do with tourism, leisure and recreation. I came back to South Africa in the 90s to set up a corporate hospitality business, mainly in sports events. And then shortly thereafter, we sold our business, and I was offered the Director of Tourism for Pietermaritzburg. And after a few years, we got into the consultancy side and tourism planning, marketing and management. And we set up a business in Stellenbosch, funnily enough, which subsequently grew into a division here in KwaZulu-Natal. And I've spent the last 15 years consulting to private and public sector, specifically on tourism development projects and marketing. And this particular position came up recently, and I thought this would be a nice way to end the career in tourism before I go writing travel stories and things like that, which is actually one of my passions.
What do you think makes you ideally suited for what you are going to do?
Well, I think it's a combination of two things, well, three things in fact. The one is that having an inventing background in the sports management sphere, that coupled with marketing and brand marketing and strengthening the brand of the South Coast, and of course the developmental side of having consulted to many government agencies in the developmental side. And those are the three key challenges. And I think the South Coast has a great deal of potential in the eventing side. It's got to be marketed, and obviously the spin-offs have to go into from the developmental point of view of people, product and place.
What would you say would be your top priority, one or two?
Well, the top priority, I think, is to re-establish consumer confidence in the South Coast. I think we have taken a bit of a knock as far as the relocation of the airport is concerned, so we've got to be creative as far as product selling is concerned, to assist the product owners to enhance the value for money component, because I think there's a huge market out there in South Africa within your mid-range and upper-range living standards measure groupings. And so we've got to rekindle that interest in the South Coast, because I think we have to accept that perhaps the North Coast has taken a bit of our market away. And we've got to get that loyalty back, specifically as far as the family tourist is concerned, and also to fill the gaps in our calendar. I think there's been a lot of reliance on the seasonality of the South Coast, and we've got to try and fill up those little gaps in between so that the tourism economy can sustain over a longer period of time.
Justin, Margate, a lot of the businessmen over there and also the people who live there have been saying over the past few years that Margate is dying and somebody has to do something. And what they do is, one of the things that they blame this on is the lack of proper municipal services.
I think that is a challenge, and we are working very closely with not only the district municipality, which is actually our parent organization, but we do have on our board representatives of each local municipality. And certainly if there is an impact that we would influence that we can put through our board to the various municipalities to ensure that service delivery is at a standard that suits the consumer and the tourist and the visitor and obviously the resident, then we will certainly do so, because the reputation of an area is, as you say, very much reliant on the overall experience that people have. And the residents certainly have the issues, and sometimes perhaps even the tourists do. I think we had a water problem a few months ago, and that to my mind has to become a priority if we're going to really enhance the reputation of the area. So we'll work very closely with our colleagues in the municipalities. And likewise, if they've got issues from a tourism perspective, they'll certainly be bringing it to us so that we can address it from that side. So it's very much a holistic approach that we need to have. And in fact, there is an initiative now which they call the Intergovernmental Relations Committee that has been formed at district, and it's been put there specifically for that purpose. So if we need to talk to somebody on security, we can do so. And it's something to do with infrastructure or electricity supply, whatever, then we've got the avenues of communication to keep that going.
One of the factors mentioned in the recent past has been tourism in the rural areas. And people say that we haven't been giving much attention to that, or enough attention to that. Yeah. What do you say?
That is a key challenge, and we are actually presently reanalyzing some of the integrated development plans specifically for that. We now have a general manager specifically allocated for development as far as tourism is concerned, and that is products and assisting with the development through marketing ventures and creating strategic partnerships to get product more out there. I think we have to recognize that for tourism initiatives to succeed in rural areas, they've got to be sellable and managed properly. And we are now going to be going into a process with a strategic plan for Ugu South Coast tourism geared specifically for marketing and the developmental component. We do have to appreciate there has been a lot of focus on the coastal areas, but we've now got to get people starting to venture forth into the hinterland, which is critical.
And what about eventing?
Well, you've got two choices here, or a combination of choices. You can either contract people to bring events, mega events. If you look at Africa Bike Week, for example, that is an arrangement through contract, which is certainly significant. Particularly, I think the figures show that there's approximately an injection of about 62 million into the local area as a result of it. However, we must never forget the smaller events, the smaller sports associations, cultural associations, things like that, where they can bring provincial, even national events down to the South Coast. So part of our marketing strategy will be specifically to what I said earlier on was the gap filler type of event, because I believe 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So we can have these iconic events, and then we have these intermediate events which still keep the volumes coming through. So we'll be looking very carefully, specifically sports and leisure associations and groupings that can bring interested groups down within the niche markets that we target.
On the subject, have you been in contact with Wazania Africa yet?
Yes, we actually have recently done the Africa Marine and Leisure Expo, as you know, at Scottsboro recently, and they are one of our service providers. And we hope, as we expand our events base, to assist more than just one or two or three service providers. We believe to have a fair spread of opportunity, and we really would like people from an eventing point of view to take ownership of it themselves, because the revenues that they create and profits they can create then can be regenerated into their own programs and even corporate social investment if necessary.
In conclusion, your message to people who are watching this video?
Have pride in your area, join hands in developing and repolishing the trophy, and collectively rather than separately, I believe we can achieve what we want to do, and that has become, I believe, the most visited non-metropolitan area of our province for tourism.
Justin, thank you very much.
Thank you.